Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. On The Point of View, we get the right guests. We ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We're very happy tonight to say we have a guest who's written the third in a series of, you could call them explosive books, because he is a retired soldier. I don't know what I call him, a former banker or current banker. Obviously an entrepreneur, a very respected CEO in his day. Started a bank. The bank was taken away from him, but he's still working on. He's here to tell us the third installment of a fascinating story. Prince Kofi Amoabeng is my guest. Stay with us.
Fire pomudi ni agobi Ghana fueni age efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de go me jollof mu ni mi still ahodoma e ma ne dance
Stanley the barbecue the go on
sankofa natural spice and one you use 100% natural.
Adofo mamunye huge mistake. Sankofa natural spices the
FDA agi ejedi nkratu yatu.
Hi, my name is Ochiame Kwame. I live at the plush Leisure Den Symphonic, a real estate property developed by Wayleaf Properties, the very developers of Vista Del Mare and the beautiful Alphabet City. So come with me to site. Let me introduce you to your new home, a gated community with 24-hour security in the heart of Sakomono. Behind me is going to be Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility. You are going to be greeted with a 4-bedroom ensuite home with an elevator, swimming pool, children's playground, constant electricity, and many more. But wait, it gets even more interesting for early birds like you. You get a whopping $50,000 discount. Yes, I said $50,000 if you purchase between now and the end of this month. So call us now or visit us. Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility.
Welcome back. So tonight, my guest is Captain Retired Prince Kofi Amoabeng, who for today is also an author, because this is the third in a series he's written. We're lucky to have him for the first installment, which is called Humble Beginnings. And then, of course, the second installment, for some reason we missed it, the Building a Winning Team. But he's back here to talk about faithful decisions. This one, for me, is the one more people can relate to because it's more contemporary, 2008 to now. So really, really interesting. Captain, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard. It's a pleasure to be with you anytime.
Charlie, what's the secret of your youthfulness? Because I think you're over 70.
Only 73.
Charlie? Seriously?
Why?
I think if you enter a ring, you can beat some 45-year-olds.
In a ring?
Even in a race?
Maybe. But I think the first thing you owe to yourself is to stay healthy.
Okay.
Because if you don't have good health, nothing else matters. Yeah, so I make it a deliberate agenda to stay healthy.
So it's life's first prize, as I'm told, health.
Health.
So how do you keep healthy?
I eat well.
Okay.
Once a day in the evenings.
Okay.
Then I sleep well, about 7.5 hours, 8 hours. I drink a lot of water, about 3 liters a day.
Okay.
I go to the gym once a week. I play golf about 3 times in a week. I clear my mind of all negativity, so I only think positive. If you offend me, okay, it's okay. I don't have time to hate people. I don't have time to bear grudges. And then I believe in my God that, I'm here for a purpose and He's always behind me.
And you don't bottle grudge?
No. I don't have time for it.
Is that why you are writing? So you let it off your chest?
Yes, partly, but the main reason why I'm writing is that I have experiences to share for posterity and for the younger generation. My father used to say that experience can be very expensive. You can even lose your life acquiring experience. But if you have soft ears, then you can get it for free. So this is my legacy for the youth and businesses in Ghana and Africa.
Wow. I'm fascinated that you're still moving on, because I've said this to you before, a lot of people, when things like what happened to you happens to them, they just go underground quietly. In fact, a lot of the people who lost their banks have not really given interviews, much less even write a book.
Yeah.
So is it a soldier thing that makes you say, I'm not going to keep quiet, or what is it?
I think it's my philosophy about life. That you come into the world with nothing, you will go eventually with nothing, but whilst you're here, you're supposed to acquire worldly things, which includes having a good health, good education, good values, money, and using the worldly things to impact the world. And then when your time is up, you're done.
Wow.
So what I have now is the expertise that God has given me, the experiences and all those things, plus my love for people and for the country and for the generation after. And I have to give it back to them. And I want to die empty. So everything in me, I need to give it out.
You won't die with secrets?
No.
But it also means that you were different from your job, and that you didn't find your, how do I put it?
Absolutely.
I
know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
See, anything that we acquire here, it's a worldly thing. Don't get defined and unduly attached to it. You see, people get defined by their wealth, so that when it's taken away from them, then it's like their world has come to an end. So don't get defined by the worldly things that you acquire. Keep it separate. It's part of God empowering you for you to make an impact. It's not you yourself. Somebody says, I have maybe 10 houses and I have an aeroplane. What are you doing with it to impact life? That's for me, that's what matters. And if you don't have it, do you still have something that you can use to impact lives? Yes, I do. I have all the experiences. I have related to people. I've built businesses. I've gone through ups and downs. That alone is something that I can give to people, and it will be worth my while.
But even beyond the possessions, what even fascinates me is that the position, because most respected CEO, bank manager, entrepreneur, a lot of people, when they enter a room, they expect you to say, do you know who I am? I'm the MD of UT Bank. But you are Kofi Amoabeng, and you don't really care that nobody calls you by those titles, and you still feel you have something to offer. It's strange, because a lot of people, when they leave political office, for example, we interview politicians. He's an MP today. Next week, he's no longer in power. You can't even recognize him. But you have not dropped your shoulders, and you're still walking strong.
And the thing, I don't even think I'm better than the next person. I probably have been favored to be used for other things. At UT, you can ask all the staff. I queued behind my cleaner, my messenger, in the cafeteria.
Same queue?
Even though I was the CEO. And even after the bank was taken away, interestingly enough, I went to Ghana Commercial Bank, which assumed UT Bank, and I went to queue to cash a check. There was panic in the room. And I said, why? And the king said, why do you come to the bank? I said, but why do people come to the bank? I also need some cash. And they got confused about it. But the point is, I don't think I'm better than the next person. And I think I need, and my number one value is have respect for everyone. Everyone is here for a purpose. And you cannot look down on people. And that is why you have to believe in systems to guide all of us and to contain our own likes and dislikes.
I guess I can summarize.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people get taken away when they think they are special to this because of the position they have, and I don't believe in that.
So I can, summarizing the first things you've said, it's fair for me to say the most important aspect of a person is their values, because from the way you're talking, it's not your possessions, it's not your position, it's more the values you live by, which is what defines you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then we can say the same for a country and a company. So that a company may be highly capitalized with lots of money, cash rich, but if they don't have right values, they won't amount to nothing. Same for a country too, right?
That's the same for Africa and Ghana. We have all the natural resources, but we don't have the right values. That is why I'm dedicating my life, apart from writing the books, to the Kofi Amoabeng Leadership Foundation that I formed. And this is actually to take young men, entrepreneurs, and future leaders and give them values. Because what we need as a country is leadership with the right values. And when you see your problem, you want to solve it, you must create the people will solve it. For example, you create a dentist, you create a medical person so that you can go to the one you have those problems. But we're not creating the leaders with the right values who can solve our problem. Because we create leaders, yes, plenty of them, but the leaders with what kind of values? And if you don't have the right values, your leadership is not going to benefit your people.
So in your foundation, give me 1 or 2 values you want to pass on to the next generation.
Oh, respect for everybody, respect for time, respect for systems, and love for people, and be God-fearing.
Respect for everybody, respect for time, respect for systems, love for everybody, and fearing God.
Yep.
Top 5.
Yeah.
So those are your values too?
That's my values. That's certainly my values.
Where did you get them from? Is it your...
I think I got them from the beginning from my grandmother. Because my grandmother used to take me to church at the age of about 4 and a half, in a village called Hemai. And I used to wake her up and say, it's time. And she would tell me about what the Bible says, how you should behave and things like that. But of course, my mom and my dad also added to it. And then of course, my schooling, I looked very bad and I did also a bad thing. But I think things sit with you when you are young. You can learn language, you can do things. So a lot of people say, I'm not a Christian, I don't go to church, and I laugh at them.
Some churches say don't give you loan.
Oh, no, no. But I get a lot of churches loan.
And then they say
I give a lot.
You don't believe in tithing, so they shouldn't give their money to you.
Yeah,
but I digress, stay on course.
It's interesting. If Kofi Amoabeng alone doesn't believe in tithing, I don't think there's anything to it. So I don't know why they make so much fuss about it.
That was when we were looking for money in those days. But let's focus. So grandmother, parents, good, and then school. Was it at Disadel?
Yeah.
Disadel.
That's the best college, you know.
I'm told you guys were more the arts and infantile were the science. Generally, that's what I'm told. So a lot of you are lawyers. I don't know, maybe I'll be bragging a bit, but you know, in my time, 1968, I won the National Maths Quiz. Are you kidding me?
In Adisado College. Yeah.
You won the National Maths Quiz? There was a National Maths Quiz in the 60s?
Yes. And it was the top schools and they bring their top people. That was one person. And you went on your own.
And you won in 1968?
Yeah.
How can you never... I didn't even see it in your book. Was it in the book 1?
No, but my books are not about my life.
No, because book 1 was a bit about how you were wayward before you entered the military.
That is from university. It started from university, but not secondary school at the Southern College.
So in 1968, you was the National Maths. Wow. Amazing. And there were people from all the other big schools.
From all the other big schools. And I wasn't even the best in at the Southern College, interestingly enough.
So did you do arts or science?
I did science.
Oh, so it was in Legon I went to do admin.
I did science, physics, maths, chemistry, biology, and all the stuff. But then when I was going to system, I didn't like chemistry because for some reason, I didn't get the logic in chemistry. So in St. Peter's, when I went for sixth form, I did physics, maths, and economics.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Physics, maths, and economics?
Yeah. That was the first time probably somebody had
done
that. For sixth form? Sixth form. This was 1970-71. And so when my results came, I couldn't go to tech because I thought naturally I was going to go to
They wanted chemistry?
They wanted chemistry. And school administration put me on the top list because I had maths and I had economics.
Wow.
And honestly, I went through school administration like hot knife through.
Yeah, because with maths
and economics, yeah.
No, this is. I mean, guys, very here for the first time. So NSMQ before it became NSMQ at this other college. Who were some of your mates in this school?
Who? Would you know them? We had people. I was 2 years behind Sam Jonah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So he was your senior?
He was my senior, but he was not only my senior, he was my chapel prefect.
Oh, come on. Sam Jonah. He was your chapel prefect?
Yeah. And then there was my prefect, Sam Jonah's time was Pebi. That is Pebi's father, the popular Pebi's father.
Wow.
And we had...
As in P-E-R-B-I?
Yeah.
R.B. Pebi?
R.B. Pebi.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pebi's
father.
He worked at Price Waterhouse.
Exactly.
The husband of the historian.
Yeah.
He was your senior prefect, your mate.
My senior prefect 2 years ahead, 1 year or 2 years ahead of me.
So Sam Jonah was a chapel prefect. Charlie, this. You know, it's funny because my mates, I went to Presec, my year group as well, the chapel prefect was called Nick Paco. And he used to sing very well. But he was also a DJ and stuff. So sometimes when you see him, Chapel Prefect sometimes it doesn't make connection.
Yeah.
So you produce some good Chapel Prefect.
Yeah.
Wow. Any political people who are your mates?
Political
Or
people.
people who led national. Of course, Sam Jonah is a big guy, but any national who are not even your mates in your cohort, who you met in a disco, plus or minus.
I'm sure there are
Plenty.
quite a
You
lot,
don't-
but
you don't-
you know, I haven't been active in politics almost my whole
Do you
life.
go for old school meetings?
Once in a while, I do. Once in a while.
I like the spirit of a disco. They are very.
We are there.
They are brothers.
Either the first or the
Yeah,
first.
and you know they have some solidarity.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And they are a nice blend between academically good but also street smart.
Yeah.
So you cannot cheat them easily.
Now, why would you want to cheat them?
No, you know, I don't know. You know, some people they say they are gentlemen, so it means you can.
Yeah,
they'll
it's true. You can get away
a
with a
disco
lot
will
of
not
things.
turn the other cheek.
No.
No, they won't.
No.
They will fight back.
Yeah.
But they will also do well in class. Quite interesting. Anyway, they did admin at Legon before you. Of course, we know the story. Okay, so if you want part one of the story, that's the first one, the UT story, Humble Beginnings. We did an interview on that, I think in 2021 or so.
Yeah.
So you can get that. We haven't done an interview on part 2, so we can do that later. But today we are on part book 3, which I don't even know how to start. Why did you decide to break the story into three volumes?
You can ask George, my co-author. So George came to me and he said he wanted to do a film or something.
Okay.
And I said, well, I don't understand. I mean, maybe you should do a book.
Okay.
And he said, I asked him, I said, have you written a book before? I said, no, but you can write it. I said, you think I'm a guinea pig? But I liked him because one, he's a very straightforward guy. He's got great values.
Yeah.
And very humble.
Yeah.
And he was persistent. So after he's come for a while, I found it difficult saying no.
You didn't have any justifiable reason to say no.
To say no. So I said, okay, let's write a book.
Wow.
Then we started the interviews and visits and things like that. And then he came to me and said, Chief, we cannot write your story. It's so rich in one book. So we have to break it into 2 books.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's go. And let's see how it goes. So at some point, we decided, okay, we'll write the beginning up to maybe the middle somewhere of UT story and then finish with the bank. And then he came back again, and so we launched the first book. Then he came back when he was supposed to conclude the second and said, listen, there's so much information here. And if you say you want to actually use it to educate entrepreneurs and things, we cannot just throw them away.
Wow.
So what we should do is finish the UT story up to where UT then became a bank or acquired a bank. And then we can do a separate story on the bank because that's also huge. And it's even painful to put all that in one book.
Yeah.
So that is how we started. One book became 2, and then finally we've done 3. And if you look at the end of the 3rd book, it's like there's a lot more has happened.
In fact,
even after the bank.
The strangest part of the 3rd book was that the ending, I was angry. It's like, how? You know, and I'm just going to read the last paragraph of the book. So it says, UT Bank could have been saved. The jobs of the staff could have been saved, but the powers that be decided otherwise. And their actions, particularly how they went about dramatically locking up the bank's head office premises and destroying the signage, highlighted the true intentions. Be that as it may, the UT story indeed is a fascinating one. And it did not end with the revocation of UT Bank's license. There is more on the way, I was like, So I actually went to, I thought there was more after the pictures. And then I only saw the index. I was like, these people, why?
We are finished.
You whet my appetite for volume 4. Amazing. But what is unique about this volume?
Well, this is basically about the bank. It starts with how we decided to acquire the bank.
Yeah.
And it was through our normal strategy sessions, and somebody said, why don't we acquire a bank? And it took, even though I had said earlier that we'll never become a bank, when he said that, it's as if a pin had dropped, and everyone kept quiet. So we went on break and came back. Then the issue came to the fore again. And we had to debate why a bank, but the idea was to have, we had UT Holdings, UT Financial Services, UT Properties, UT Logistics, UT Live, UT Private Securities. So the idea was to have UT Bank in the group, not to become a bank.
Oh, okay.
Right? So finally we decided that, is it possible? Can we raise the money? And I said, yeah, it can be done. So then we, like UT, in our special mode, we just give assignments and things and time of reporting and KPIs and all those things. Mine obviously was to raise the money and
get the license.
Get the license. Now, interestingly enough, at the time, banks were owned by either the state or they were foreign banks or state-owned institutions banks, or former governors owned the banks. And here I was,
small group,
Kukurantumi boy. I was going to look for a license. So for me, it was straightforward that if we want to own a bank, we must acquire an existing bank. Then we acquire with the license. Because when I checked, it's like, oh, if you can get a former bank, governor to actually
front.
be exactly, and I don't want that. So that's how we went about it. So the decision came from our strategy session, and then we executed it. The way we did it was, I had taught at the stock exchange for about 12 years. I was a resource person, so I knew the stock exchange, and I'm in love with the stock exchange. So I decided, okay, fine, we'll prepare UT Financial Service and put it on the stock exchange. And so we put 30% of UT Financial Service on the stock exchange, and we raised $27 million. Interestingly enough, we started UT with less than $20,000, which included my car.
Wow.
And in about 11 years...
Yeah, it got into almost 30 million.
Yeah, the market cap was $90 million.
Wow.
And so, long story short, I went to two banks, ICBG, and I realized that they had parent companies, and so I couldn't buy them. Then I went to BPI, and I realized that Akukowe Onimame, you know.
They didn't have a parent bank abroad,
Exactly.
and the owner was a Malaysian.
Yeah, it was owned by Malaysia and things like that. And they had run the bank down. Of course, you can't buy a bank that's doing very well.
That's the problem, right?
So then we targeted it, and we raised the $27 million and used the money to acquire the bank. But interestingly enough, when we acquired the bank, the minimum capital for a bank was $7 million, which was 7 million cedis at the time.
Because at the time it was Kufuor to one-to-one after your nomination, 2008.
And as soon as we bought the bank, the Governor Bank of Ghana raised the minimum capital to 60 million cedis, which is $60 million.
Within the same year.
So here we had bought a bank, but we didn't have the capital to own the bank. Now, if we gave the bank or we invited investors, then we're giving the bank away because somebody who's coming with maybe about 80% of the money owns the bank.
Definitely, you'll be diluted.
So then we had to take the right decision which would make sure that we own the bank. And the only decision was for us to merge UT Financial Service and the bank, which will give us roughly about half of the value or the capital that is required. And then we got IFC and DEG and other investors to also put
Which is what you call the reverse acquisition, where you use the 90 million market cap of the financial services to sort of acquire
BPI.
Yes, and then,
which was a bank.
Yes,
and then the bank became the main.
Which in a way is good because it tells that the hard work you did with UTFSL and its success amounted to something so valuable that even in the face of the capital adjustment, you were still able to. Of course, you did an IPO too.
Yeah.
To get. Yeah. I just wanted to go back to something you said. So at the time you wanted to start the bank, there were 4 categories of banks: state-owned, which is ADB, NIB, GCB.
Yeah.
State institution-owned, so that's the SSB, which is now French, SGSSB, and then TTB, which is now EcoBank.
Yeah.
Then the foreign-owned at the time, banks, and the Nigerian, and there's Barclays, Stanchart, and then there was something called private indigenously owned. So there's Prudential, Unibank, and CAL. And as we speak, there are only Prudential and CAL still exist in the form, because Unibank also went
the way we
within
did,
the same. So 68 years of independence, truly indigenous Ghanaian private sector bank is just Prudential and CAL.
Even CAL is not.
Because of the share structure now.
It's not.
But that's regrettable.
It is.
I mean.
So the question is, when are we going to support our own? And if you don't own your banking sector, you don't own your economy. That is a sad situation.
Can you repeat that? If you don't own your banking sector, you don't own your economy.
You don't own your economy.
Don't our leaders know this?
Well, I think sometimes they are on the destructive mood that they don't think about the good things. That's all I can say.
If you don't own your banking sector, you don't own your economy.
No, you don't.
Wow. Because the number of banks that we lost in the 2017-2018 period, they were mostly local banks.
In fact,
they were all Ghanaian banks.
Yeah.
Some of the, not to jump ahead of myself, when I listened to the justification given for this, some of this we're told were preconditions for IMF support.
Actually,
so
yes,
I don't know.
Not that some of it. The governor at the time, that is the governor who's just gone out, actually made a statement that the closure of UT Bank was as a result of recommendation or request of IMF to close the bank.
Yeah,
which is, I can believe
it's plausible.
That. No, I can believe that because, you know, IFC and IMF are the two legs of the World Bank, right? So if you displease IFC, certainly IMF will know about it, right? And we had issues with IFC. And at one point, I took them on and I told them that, listen, the only reason why you came to invest is because you want to make money on the back of the hard work we've done. So you have to respect the institution that you bought a part of. And you cannot dictate to us. I told them in plain words. And they didn't really like it. I think there was one Kukurantumi boy that would not take their orders as IFC and things like that. But of course, I wasn't going to take it. And I've written about the details.
So yes, when they pulled the plugs, it affected other.
So I'm sure, because the government said that IFC, because they lost money eventually because UT wasn't doing well, then said they should close the bank.
But that would still be a stretch because in the time this happened, there were about 7 banks that went. So it was 2 of the banks were sort of received by GCB, and then about 5 of them were consolidated. So even if you had issues with IFC, for which reason they were not happy, for that to become some sort of precondition to close or to sort of, you know what I'm saying?
But I know what you're saying.
7 banks, that's a lot.
Bernard, the IFCs and the Western world, bottom line, they don't want us to develop and become first world countries. They don't.
We have to accept and understand this.
Yes, that is a basic fact. So collapse your banks, and you collapse your banks. So your banks now, you don't own a part of your economy, or you don't control your economy, as I said. So it's engineered. Don't pay your staff well, don't pay salaries well, sell off state property, state assets. It's all to make sure that you never ever control your economy, so that they control it for you. That's the fact. And I don't see why our politicians don't see it. And they swallow anything that's recommended from these people, hook, line, and sinker.
But beyond that, could the fact that getting access to capital is so difficult, because you've documented well the lengths you had to go to raise money. Your initial IPO, having to sell, do the reverse acquisition, and basically asking for people to come and invest. So maybe Ghanaians don't own banks, private sector Ghanaians, probably because we haven't built enough savings to convert into capital to start, or we have not found a way of creating capital.
But you know, UT's IPO, we had a slogan, we said, your bank or something like that, own a bank or something like that. And we had people, it was a very, an inclusive capital raise. We had people in the markets and things, all wanted to be a part of the UT story. So really, we raised the bulk of the money from indigenous Ghanaians. Because I wanted, and my team wanted it to be a Ghanaian-owned bank. So we have about maybe 15,000 small ownerships. And the other sad part is that when the government was collapsing UT Bank, they didn't think about all these small investors, because at least they had shares that were quoted on the stock exchange, no matter how small. The government just said, we pulled the plug, and then the stock exchange said, okay, we stopped trading in those shares, and nothing was said about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. So, point of view, we are here with Prince Kofi Amoabeng, who's the author of the UT Story, Volume 3, Fateful Decisions. This is a part of a 3 series is done, and we're just trying to get a sense of the book. We'll tell you where to get copies. Stay with us.
In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, safety should not be too far-reaching. It should be as easy as ABC. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response 1.
We were held at gunpoint in our own home, and they got away with it.
We didn't have Response 1 back then. That was the most terrifying experience of our lives.
But after that, we subscribed to Response 1 to ensure that never happens again. The last time the hoodlums tried, we had installed Response 1 monitored alarm system. Their response team arrived, followed by the police, to ensure we are safe.
Don't wait for tragedy to strike. Protect your home with Response 1's monitored alarm system and our theft protection guarantee. Immediate response, real protection. Response 1, stay connected, stay protected.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet saver, win, even if your bet misses.
After a long flight, Safari Homes gives you the peace to unwind. A short drive from the airport, convenient for all. For nature lovers, Safari Valley Resort is a hidden gem, surrounded by lush greenery and luxury amenities. A place where you can truly escape. Now, for water adventure, Aqua Safari Resort has it all. Jet skis, canoe rides, kayaking, and a visit to the estuary. And for more excitement, Safari Eco Park is the perfect place to get closer to some amazing animals.
Visit Safari World in Ghana, together bringing you closer to nature.
Welcome back. Tonight we're speaking to Prince Kofi Amoabeng, who is the founder of the UT Group, the erstwhile UT Bank, and this book is what we're discussing, the UT Bank story, Fateful Decisions. This is volume 3 of the series. Volume 1 was on humble beginnings, about the man and his forays into business in Cantamanto. Volume 2 was about UT Financial Services, alone in less than 48 hours, that iconic company that swept Ghana's lending by storm. And of course, UT Bank from 2008 to about 2017, highly respected bank before it had its troubles. Now, thank you for talking to us. We appreciate why you're doing this, because history is not just what's officially written. It's also what gets added. So in a sense, you are making society richer. As a journalist who likes economics, this is very, very important, just to understand the nuances. A few things that came to me. Sometimes when we say one foreign investors, and I'm saying this in relation to the Malaysian investments, not just in the BPI Bank. Generally, we are not able to scrutinize the quality of those investments well, because the way they were running that bank before you took over, in any serious society, that bank should have been taken over much, much earlier. And they also didn't disclose all the things that they were doing. So when you offered them that amount and took the bank, it was almost a poison chalice. So half of your energy was just to turn around a completely terrible situation. What's your comment about that? Because we make a lot of noise about presidents traveling abroad. Investors say they are coming to bring money. And yet they bring the money, and sometimes they are not here to do any long-term good.
Well, I think there are various aspects to it. The money that they are coming to invest, do the monies go into the projects 100%, or people take commissions out of it? I mean, Ghanaians have become so corrupt that you don't know how much. And if you do take monies up front to give them these investments, of course, they're going to screw us. That's the first aspect. The second thing is, what kind of valuation do we make to evaluate what they're bringing in terms of expertise, in terms of just the money and the training for locals and all those things? I think these are things that are critical, and any government trying to sell off any asset should actually think about that. In the case of the Malaysians, generally, and I guess that was President Kufuor's time, they took the shipyard and then they took this
Ghana
bank
Telecom,
and Ghana Telecom, exactly. And they come and they don't even bring much capital. And they come to use these facilities and bring them to the ground. Make sure that, they can take whatever they can to pay for their investment. Because the shipyard was left in a wreck. BPI was absolutely nothing to write home about. It even owed Bank of Ghana $4 million, which we got to know later on. And Vodafone are still begging or still on its knees until we got different partners to take over. So generally, the thing about Ghanaians is that we don't love our country, we don't love ourselves. We only think about me, the guy in the position.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah, and therefore, it's getting even worse now. What I see is getting worse, where people are thinking about what they can take from the system, what they can take from the state. And the state is supposed to actually be the one that we should all care about and nurture to make sure they can take care of all Ghanaians. But that's what we're seeing. So we're not doing well with the foreign investment because of personal interests to start off with, and then lack of proper evaluation. And we've got experts. To digress a bit, you can't understand why our roads will get potholes in, say, 6 months, when we have qualified engineers signing off on these roads. So the same thing happened in the finance world. People are supposed to evaluate projects and see their viability and what it can add to the economy. And these are experts, but how come they do such shoddy job? So our problem is huge.
When you finished book 2, UTFSL was such a fantastic success story.
Yeah.
So when you proposed to the strategy session that you should become a bank, some of the so-called caucus members, led by Eddie in Tiamoa, advised you against that, but the day had been cast because majority supported the bank move. In retrospect, do you think we should have listened to the caucus? After all that's happened to UT Bank?
No. I told you already, acquiring the bank wasn't so that we could become a bank.
Okay.
Originally, it was supposed that we would have a bank in the group. I wasn't a banker at the time. So we're going to have UT Bank, UT Financial Service, and UT that, right? But as I said, when we bought the bank, we realized that we were holding a bank that we didn't have the capital to run.
That's what forced your hand to do all those things.
Therefore, had to take that decision as in whether to let the bank we bought go and stay UT Financial Services, or merge the two, so instead of UT Financial Services, we have a UT Bank. And in the financial industry, the ultimate institution is a bank. So why would you own a bank and say, because I want to stay financial service? And a bank is supposed to also do lending. So the question was, can we go into banking and do the UT Financial Service kind of loan, which had made us successful? And we convinced ourselves that we could. So we set up what we call a Project David, and put some of our team members in there to look at how we can transition into a bank and still do our loans in 48 hours and as effective and things. But of course, when we got into practicalizing it, then we saw that there were gaps and cracks.
So before we go back, who are these? Okay, let me see who I can identify here. This is Prince Captain Budukumsen, who you used to call Capo.
Yeah.
So he was CEO of the UT group. Behind him is Pelis Mensa, who became the Director of Finance, Deputy. I don't know the guy next to her.
Charles Edu.
Then
I think he so rest in peace, is dead.
Then that's Martin Mensah.
Yes.
Who's next to Martin?
Martin Mensah is Justice Minka Primo.
Oh, is it from that lawyer's family?
Yes.
Okay, he was part of the. Okay. Then there's you, and then is that your friend?
That is my partner, Joseph Nsunamwa.
Wow.
Who was chairman of the bank.
Was this an organic laughter, or this was engineered by the cameraman?
No. This was very organic. I'm sure some of them remember what transpired. And we just burst out laughing, all of us, uncontrollably.
It's a priceless photo.
Yeah, uncontrollably.
How the guy...
to see Charles Edu go off like, because a very calm, cool gentleman. Yeah, but nobody could stand on their feet. We were all falling apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those were happier times.
Very happy times, I guess.
So let's come back to the story. So the whole idea of acquiring a bank made logical sense as a step up. But you had to go through so much to just raise the capital, you know. So clearly it was a very tough choice. But I see a few tensions. The first tension I see is you've perfected UT Financial Services, which is based on two things: giving high returns to your depositors, and then giving quick loans to your
customers or our loan clients.
And banking is, in a sense, opposite.
Yeah.
Because the interest rates that you charge your financial services, you cannot charge for banks. So it means that when somebody comes to you for a loan in a bank, your rates must be annual, not monthly. That's problem number one. And number two, those who give you money, they will prefer it to stay at financial services because they will get higher returns for their money. So it's a very different business that you are entering. Okay. And then of course the expertise, and you stated this, the expertise to run a financial services was basically loan recovery. But in a bank, even somebody owes you can't go and recover the loan.
There's a whole lot of things.
The whole thing was so different.
Yeah, so I actually went to great lengths to expose the problem we had with the processes to the point that even in the branches, we had two managers, one for banking and one for lending.
Yes, lending.
And so who was the boss in the branch? And then we also had to look at the loan monitoring officers, as in those who want to collect the money. Because now that we're a bank, we have to do relationship banking. So
you can't do buga money collection.
No. So we had a whole lot, because when you disburse maybe 100,000 to a client,
yeah,
you don't want them to take the money away, as in UTFSL.
Yes.
You want them to keep the money in the bank and then manage it so that at least you have some deposits staying in the bank. And then we had also problems with our software. We had to move from Finacle to Terminals, and we had the migration problems and all sort of things, to the point where somebody came and said, I've been credited with about 1 million CDs and I don't have that money. I haven't paid any monies like that.
The software was just misbehaving.
And I go, we are dead. Because if it's a debit, you come and tell us. But if it's a credit, how many people will come and tell us? So we had a lot of issues apart from the culture and all that.
And even for a fully chartered accountant who had run a financial services company for years, banking took some getting used to.
I'm still not used to banking completely, and I'm still not in love with banking. There are a lot of things that some banks do that I couldn't do. For example, some banks will just recruit some ladies and then set them targets and then unleash them onto the market to go and meet their targets. And when they bring the monies, the banks will take them and buy treasury bill and make a margin, as simple as that. And sometimes I think it's not fair on the women. And I can't think of myself putting people's wives and sisters in that position. So people recommended that, listen, you have to do it. People are doing it. I said, it doesn't sit well with me. Just pick up some women, give them targets, and let them go harass people and probably even give a bit of themselves to raise the money and bring to the bank so the bank can make money. So there are some aspects about banking that I've never liked. You know, I think what I like is to give value for money. So one thing which separated us at UTFSL was that we're very responsive to the clients, because I had been in SME business for about 15 years. So I knew exactly what the problems of SME were. Because when an SME person comes to you and says, I need money, he means now, not 2 months later when the bank is doing evaluation.
Banks take too long.
Yeah. By the time you give them the money, the business is gone. But they will take it. So it's structured for failure.
Which is why a lot of MPLs go high.
So we responded 48 hours, give you the money, make sure the business is there, follow up, write our reports and everything, and then make sure you're applying the monies properly. And honestly, since we left that space, I haven't seen any company seriously, because they're afraid of the risk. But when you mean well and you have mitigated the risk and things like that, and you love the person, somebody comes and you can look at the person and you see the situation in which he is, and you've been there before, and you sit down with them and say, listen, let's see how we'll do it. And you go through it with him. And then you give him the money and you start monitoring. That is why when they fail to pay, I get really mad. I have taken people's money and I've sat down to look at your problem, and we've agreed on how it's going to solve your problem for you.
But bankers will say, your approach as financial services, even though you give them the money quickly, your interests are too high because you charge them on the month.
Listen.
But the bank, even though they take long to give the money, the interests are more reasonable. So the people have no reason not to pay.
You know, sometimes we used to refer some of our good clients to the banks.
Okay.
so that they will enjoy lower interest rates, so to speak.
Good.
And the banks came back to us and said, those your good clients, they are not paying. I said, I don't know what you do to them. Because they were paying maybe something like those about 6% a month. But don't forget, we will not give you the money if the business cannot sustain it. In actual fact, we had a ratio called interest coverage ratio. The profit from the business should cover the interest that you're going to pay us at least 2 times. Otherwise, we won't do it. And we turn a lot of people away. So the point is, do you want them to take charge of the business, or you want them to lose it by wasting time and giving it? Because if you give them the low interest, after 2 months, forget it, they've lost the business.
You brought some innovations to banking, though.
Yeah.
I need to mention a couple of them that I think you highlighted in the book. The issue of, and I knew I could relate to this. You go to a bank at the time they close at 3.
Yeah, something like that.
2:55. Then security man will take the door. If you don't enter, I'm locking the door, and it's basically driving you away, even though you are coming to a bank that has your money.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if you're a bit of a high net worth guy, they pass you through the back door, and I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And you said let's close at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And then number 2, let's do Saturday banking.
Yeah.
That was
because it's very simple. Workers close at 5. Makola women close about 5, 6 o'clock. And you have to close before you go and do your banking transaction. If you have closed at 3 o'clock, so they should go home with the money or what? So I felt we were exposing them to all sort of things. So I sat with my team and I said, listen, what would it cost? Not all the branches, but the branches that are in key areas where there's a lot of commercial activity, let's extend it to 6 o'clock. And then, of course, all the other banks had to follow somehow because, it worked.
And Saturday banking as well.
And Saturday banking, because people go to market Saturdays, where should they go with the money?
Now, of course, a lot of your competitors followed this.
Of course, they followed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like even though the bank ended up the way it ended up, the sheer grit to do it, to take on the banking system, which is very conservative, very risk averse, in the way you did it with being the most respected CEO, and actually it worked because I think after 2011, you won almost every award. But I think 2011 was probably your best year. 2011, 2012.
Yeah, exactly. 2011, 2012.
You won everything. So this is just 4 years into the bank.
Yeah, we won Bank of the Year award, we won most respected CEO, most respected company, Johnny Walker, and all kinds of things.
In fact, in 2011, you even won Best Bank for Credit. I think some of the more revered categories, if I have it here, I'll just check. And I think that paid credence to your UTFSL days. Second runner-up, corporate banking, best bank financial performance, most socially responsible bank, best bank retail banking, which is an award I think a lot of people would value because of your background. And Bank of the Year 2011. So things were going very well.
It started well, but we also had the public sentiments behind us. Because people loved the story, the UT story, because you saw it when it started with 4 people, Cantamanto, struggling, and then, so it was a story that people could identify with, and they loved it. So when we went into banking, we got a lot of people who wanted to work in the UT Bank, and also others who wanted to actually open accounts. So we had a lot of clients.
So this 2012, Respected Company and CEO Awards, I think PwC did it. This is Felix Addo, the country partner at the time. This is Edith, I think, of BNFT.
That is true.
I don't know the gentleman giving you the award, though.
I've forgotten him a little bit.
Yeah, so this is 2012 when you were on top of your game.
Yeah, and at 2012, UT, the group, we employed directly over 2,500 people.
2,500. You used to win all the Business Olympics. You used to come for Business Olympics. You and GCB were the 2 top companies. You used to win. Your people were so aggressive, tug of war. When is this? Mahama giving you most respected CEO or something?
Yes, this was probably in 2010.
So when he was vice president?
Yeah.
When he was vice president.
2010.
It's interesting you said that in 2016, of course, that's having issues with UT Bank in 2015, 2016. He as president and Setekwe as finance minister both assured you that they believe in the plan you had to save the bank. So going into 2016 election, you believe that the BOG was with you, that the bank would survive.
As a matter of fact, now President Mahama, who was then president in 2016.
2016.
Yeah, I went to see him. I said, we're having some problems. We need a turnaround and so on. And he looked at me and said, Kofi, forget about it. Under my watch, UT Bank is never going to fail. Wow. He told me point blank, like me and you sitting there. He said, under my watch, UT. So you go and see your brother, which is the Governor Bank of Ghana at the time, Nash. So go and see your brother and see what you can do to keep the bank.
And then the finance minister also assured you, said,
yeah, and he did. Because some of the problem was because the government wasn't paying its clients for them to pay and on and on and on. And they set up the ESLA, that is, what was it? Energy sector, levy, whatever.
Yeah.
To create funds to actually pay off government debts. So the government had these plans, and we also had a restructuring plan which we wanted to implement.
And then even in 2017, you said that 6 months into the new administration, June, you had still met the Bank of Ghana, led by the governor and the banking supervision, and they still believe that your plan to keep the bank afloat was correct.
Absolutely. I left the bank as CEO December 2015, 15. But I was still on the board, and because I carry the history of the bank, I always went with the new CEO and other board members when it's required to meet Bank of Ghana to discuss the restructuring plan, and they even gave inputs to it. Part of it was raising additional capital, trying to get more cheaper funds, mitigating risk or risk management aspects, and so on and so forth. So we went for meetings, and a series of it. You know, so like you said, yeah, we went for a meeting in June, and at that meeting we went with an investor, possible investor.
And they were willing to put in money. I think they had actually paid 10 million.
They said they paid 10 million as token to show that, listen, they committed to it. So after that, I had left the running of the show to the board members and the CEO. That is why when the government collapsed the bank, I wasn't there, and I was probably the last person to hear about it.
We'll come back to that story. This is the point of it. I mean, this is more you call it, tell it all, but there's a lot in the book, and trust me, for those of you who are trying to understand our banking sector, you understand a lot of issues about the difficulty and the nitty-gritty of doing business in Ghana. We'll deal with some of those when we come back and how it all unraveled. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved. Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver. Win, even if your bet misses.
This is still the point of view tonight. My guest is Captain Retired Prince Kofi Amoabeng. He said he used to be called Duncan, but he didn't know why that name was given. So you dropped it yourself?
It just fell through the cracks somewhere.
It's interesting. My producer is called Joe Duncan, so maybe, I don't know. This is a great book, and I really urge bankers, financial people to read it. Students, journalists, politicians, everything is in the corporate culture. It was fascinating reading about how you were trying to merge two distinct group of staff. The go-getters of UT Bank, UT Financial Services, who were nothing is impossible, then the demoralized staff of the bank you took over, who were like, Charlie, that must have been crazily tough.
It was tougher than I envisaged, because when we merged the two of them, I realized that the biggest thing would be how to infect the BPI staff with our culture. So we had devised a whole lot of things. We had a brand ambassadors, we organized some games, we organized meetings with them and everything, so we could bond with them. Unfortunately, they were too suspicious of management, and they were unionized for one thing. And we never thought about union and so, because we had an open door policy. Anybody could walk into my office, and we had debates and things like that. Now, one thing is probably why the establishment of the culture did not work was that when we acquired the bank, all the top bankers had left. And Bank of Ghana required us to have top bankers, as in treasurer,
credit,
head of
risk,
head of
IT,
compliance, head of IT,
internal auditor,
banking operations, and all those things. And we were not bankers, so we didn't have them. And almost none was in BPI because the good ones had left.
So you also had to pay through them.
So we had to push.
Maybe pay more.
Top people, so pay more. Two things happened. It meant that the new ones who were coming were earning a lot more than the staff that we had. Already no black man. But we have worked and they bring these people and they are paying them more than not thinking about the fact that they come to contribute for you to build a bigger cake and also to raise your salary. But anyway, then these people, and they came from all kinds of banks. We had some Access, we had Stanchart, we had UBA, name it.
Some of the best banks you poached.
And they all came to be departmental heads.
Wow.
So they came between me and the normal teams.
And they have their own culture.
And each one had his or her own culture.
No.
So we had a UT culture that I could swear by. We had a BPI culture that was giving me all the headache possible. Then we had these cultures from various banks.
Wow. That must have been tough.
I mean, it was impossible. That's how come we started having problems. And the first thing about the problems about the bank is about the loss in the culture. Now, these people who came, some of them were even running away from their former.
But you will not know.
We wouldn't know. And because at one time I had to sack my head of department and his deputy, because they swindled the company. As simple as that.
Sometimes they will get the people who need loans to pay before they give the loan to them.
Exactly, and it happened in a lot of banks. And this was more or less alien to UT Financial Services, because of course, if it happened, immediately you were sacked. And so they came to dilute completely our culture. And then all sort of things started. We're doing relationship banking too. And this guy was supposed to be expert in relationship banking. And they sit with the clients who don't want to pay, and then they cook up some deals.
They can collude.
They do all sort of reports and things like that, to the point that now UT, that was feared by people, that if you don't pay UT money, if you don't pay, you cannot survive and all those things. Now UT Bank became the bank that people were rather duping.
So you were surprised that in the banking sector, there were generally people who were very corrupt? Private sector banking?
Even now. There are a lot of bankers who are very, very corrupt.
You sacked somebody because he couldn't explain how he got a house.
Yeah.
That's extreme.
No, it's not.
Even though you couldn't prove that he had done anything wrong, you said because he couldn't justify his salary.
If you are staff and you are 40-something and you have a 3-story building as your house, I don't want to know.
With a swimming pool on top.
I don't want to know. Take your house, but you cannot fit this society. It's as simple as that.
Do you think our politicians should do more of that? Because this issue of unexplained wealth. Because in that case, you said you sacked the guy because his salary couldn't justify the earnings.
So to your point, the politicians should find a way of telling people you are living above your means. Tell us how come you own all these assets. Tell us. It's not up to us to prove. All we have to do is do the intelligence and know your A, B, C, D, and then we call it.
Look at your earnings.
These are your earnings, this is your tax. So tell us how. And if it doesn't make sense, we should confiscate as much as possible. I believe in that, because people hide all sort of things, and if you're on the side of the government of the day, it means you are not investigated. It's only when you happen to be on the other side, even that one, chiefs and pastors will come and meddle in it, and nothing happens. So it's become fashionable to steal from the state, and also show it off openly, and nothing happens. We are in a
So when we have high MPLs, it's not all the time that it's just because people don't want to pay. Some of it is because the whole thing was cooked up to fail. Some of it was also because the rates are too high, they can't pay. So there are many reasons. It's not one reason.
And some because they are even not paid by the government as you are anticipating.
So they are not able to.
And then some, like they collude with the clients. Sometimes the client says, oh, you need the money, so you just give me something small and keep the money. And all sort of things. And at UTFS, we're not getting these things. It was very
one thing
rare.
that I wanted to ask, not you alone, all bankers, that usually when somebody is dismissed from a bank, very rarely do they state the reason. They typically will just say, issue a disclaimer, we don't work with this guy anymore. Do you think banks should be made to tell us the history of people they sack? Because some of the people you may employ may have a very shady past.
Ideally, yes. But I know banks, they treat themselves as some kind of mysterious something, and they just want to release you quietly and let you
They don't want bad press.
Yeah. So I didn't care about it. I mean, I sacked people, and then somebody called me for reference. In fact, not that somebody called me for, somebody had sacked. And my peer or colleague in the banking center said, Kofi, this guy, I said, no, I called him and I said, I hear you're taking this guy. I said, don't. He's a crook. Yeah. But banks don't normally do that. I think they want to ease you out so that they don't avoid bad press and all the attention. But then you ease them up into the system again.
They'll go and continue the corruption elsewhere.
Continue, yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about two things. One of the things that I was so sad about, high-level Ghanaian private sector business you were trying to support, and some of it did not work. Some of them you give loans to, they are not honest. I won't mention anybody, there were two stories to recount where somebody owed you money and then he needed money to do something. So he sort of got you to sign some sort of guarantee for him. And then turned around and basically said, F up, he's not going to pay. So you tried to help some Ghanaian businesses and they were not honest with you.
Plenty.
So you only mentioned a few.
Plenty of them. If I say I'm going to write on all of them, they won't fit.
But these are respected people in society.
I dealt with some of them, but we still had some that were incorrigible and couldn't end.
Is that how banking is, or is this how Ghanaians are?
Listen, when we started Unique Trust, Bank of Ghana wasn't comfortable with us, the way we were treating people. But at the time, there was Mr. Fred France, who was head of banking supervision, and he called me and he said, what I'm doing is right, but they will not support me. Because when he came to Ghana, he realized that all the so-called big people, most of them,
they take money from banks, they don't pay.
When he went into Bank of Ghana, realized that all those people he respected, their names were there, and they had bad loans, they were not servicing. So he gave me some encouragement. He said, "Listen, we are not supposed to back you and your ethics, but you're doing the right thing."
Of course, this was when you were under non-banking.
That's when we were under non-bank.
But you can't do that in banking.
Why not?
Because the money is not even cash. Like, I mean,
no, see,
you can't come in front of my company.
The problem we had in banking is that the amounts were bigger.
Okay.
Now, if you walk to somebody's house at dawn and he owes you $2 million, what are you going to get?
He can't find it for you in the house.
He can't find it for you. But when UTFS said they owe 100,000, 50,000, when you harass them, they will go and find an uncle or somebody and come and give you your money. But when it's $1 million, $2 million, you go there. So you need to really sit and discuss how they can pay the debt and all that. And it has to be quite realistic, high level, And therefore you have problems. The guys are really bad. And some people come to or walk to a bank to take a loan from day one when they're applying for the loan. They know they're not going to pay.
Mm.
And nothing you do will let them change their mind. And it's very difficult.
So you admit that before 2016, the bank was having problems?
We started having problems from 2014.
Mm.
So we did not pay dividends 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to tell Bank of Ghana, because they had done what was called Asset Quality Review, AQR, in all the banks. And there were some assets, as in loans, that the Bank of Ghana said we should write off. Now, if we wrote those loans off, it meant that we had negative capital. So we're negotiating with Bank of Ghana, so we can't just write off overnight and then show this our poor state. Not only that, it meant that then we cannot operate as a bank if you write it off, because then your capital is wholly inadequate. So we asked Bank of Ghana to give us a time to actually recover the monies and write it off slowly, which they agreed at some point in time. Now, unfortunately, that didn't help us because we could not collect. Those debts they were locked up. So as we provide for that, it meant that the bank was becoming weaker. So we had a critical look at the bank, and we decided to put together a bank restructuring program to look at the whole banking and our processes and the bad debts, how we can collect and all those things. Now, in 2015, and this is what most people don't understand, in 2015, after we put a restructuring plan in place, I said, the only place we have not looked critically is me. Because I'd been CEO from inception. And, you know, as CEO, good things come and you take credit for it. If bad things come, you should take the blame for it. So I said, listen, with what is happening now, looking at the culture that has failed and all those things, maybe I should step down. And my board initially opposed and said I should stay. And I said, no, I'm 63, and pension age is 60. So at 63, I think I'll even outlive my useful years. And therefore, I insisted and resigned from the bank, me personally, handed over the bank that I founded, and I said, let us get a new person with new pair of eyes and new pair of whatever to come and look at the bank to see how we can turn around. Because maybe I'm out of my wits with it. And therefore, I stepped down in 2015, December. That is why when the bank was closed down in 2017, August, which was 20 months later on, the government found me culpable for some reason of something. Meanwhile, there had been nothing from Bank of Ghana, all the team, all the CEO, all the board members for almost 2 years. I think MPP, they properly orchestrated how to bring me down and shut me up.
So you think that the decision to close down UT and take it into GCB was a witch hunt? Because you are saying that there was already a clear plan. Somebody was interested in putting money in. So even though you admit that there were some challenges, it wasn't as though you had exhausted all the options.
We hadn't. In actual fact, we had a standby investor to go through UT Holdings to buy the shares. And I said, let's rock the boat first. Let Bank of Ghana come out. If they say that they do not like this one, we can put the second one in. The second one was a lot better than the first one, but at least this
so
one...
you had at least two options on the table?
We had at least two options. You know, so when they just collapsed the bank, the other group said, listen, the reason why we're buying into UT Holdings is because we want the bank. Now that you don't have a bank, then we're no more interested. So my issue with Bank of Ghana is that it was a bank. And a bank is never closed down like that. It's not as if a bank can just get up and run away. And if we were discussing with us about a month or so previously, if you didn't like the investor, the normal thing is to say that, listen, we don't like the investor. But they wrote to the investor to say that they didn't like it.
They wrote to the investor who was going to invest in your bank?
The investor we brought. They wrote to the investor and said they would not...
And they didn't copy you in that letter?
Not even copy us. They didn't.
Oh, wow.
So why would you do that to anybody?
This was in 2017?
This was 2017. Then, see, the process was, even after they withdrew the license, I was trying to see the Minister of Finance, who was my very good friend, that what is it that you guys want? Because after that, they froze the bank accounts of all UT subsidiaries and the holding company.
UT Life,
UT Properties, UT Holdings and everything. So I went back to Minister of Finance and I said, Bank of Ghana cannot close the accounts of these because it doesn't regulate the other companies. And I didn't get any positive answer for it. In actual fact, he said I should call, he told me that I should call his PA if I need him. That was why I stopped talking to him.
Wow.
You know, so, and then after that, so they collapsed what we had built or I had built. Then they decided to go for my reputation because then I was sent to court, which meant that I couldn't deal with other companies.
So this is a criminal matter?
It's a state versus Prince Kofi Amoabeng.
And what is your crime?
My crime ranges from moving money from UT Bank to UT Holdings and all sort of things.
Okay.
You know? And initially, I think they thought, you know, they had some substantive thing to go in jail. But as the case dragged on, they realized that it's difficult to jail this guy.
So where is the case now?
It's still in court. It's in court.
So that's like 6 years because this is 2018.
Yeah, 6 years. 6 years. Yoko, 2 years, and then court about 6 years. So yours truly, I go to court every so often, but I take it as excursion to High Street, Ghana. So I go to court, come back and take my whiskey, so it's not that bad. Yeah.
Wow. So you
now, listen.
so the likelihood is that, I mean, if the state has this way, you'll be jailed. Because they are asking.
No, it's not the state. They're trying to use the institutions of state. That's what they do.
I'm saying, I mean, this is the state.
The state will not jail me. But the people who control the institutions of state are engineering things so that I could be jailed. That is before they lost the election. Some people in the MPP, for some reason, hated my being, my guts and everything.
Were you against them when they were in opposition?
No, my sister is MPP, the MP for our area.
As Ebuakwa North?
Yes, Ebuakwa North.
The former education?
Yeah, Deputy Minister of Education.
Why, is she your sister?
My true sister. That's the only...
Chum Ampofo,
yeah.
She's your sister?
Sister, same mother, same father.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So how come you have different surnames?
You know, Achin people,
You're confusing
Ashanti people and things like that. I was named after my father's father, and she took my father's name.
So Gifty Chumampofo,
my true
the
sister.
Deputy Minister for Education.
Last night I was with her.
It's your sister?
In my house, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But not only that. I mean, Ken Furata was my body. We spent Christmas, children's party together. I went to his home as I wanted. He came to my house. We did all sorts of things together.
Really?
Yeah. So, but what makes me believe that some people's agenda, and not the whole of MPP, obviously. I mean, just some people in MPP, they decided to destroy me because after everything, they even went to my village when I was on 60 million cedis bail in court. They went to my village to spray some graffiti on it that don't enter or something, is under investigation. In my village building is how much?
They went to write on your village building?
And then my passport was seized and put in court, right?
So you can't travel?
So I couldn't travel. Now finally I applied through my lawyer to the judge, and the judge said I'd been there all the time and I'm going to do medical exam and visit my daughter. So the judge said, I don't see why I won't give him his passport. So the judge gave me my passport. And I walked confidently, because my visa had expired, visa to US had expired. I walked confidently to the US embassy, put my passport there. And the guy looked at me, looked on some screen, and I said, well, sorry, we can't give a passport. I said, it's me. And he said, yeah, it's Captain. I said, why? He said, well, I can't tell you anything, but you can go and make your own research. The long story was that as soon as I left court with the passport, they informed the National Security Coordinator's office to send a letter to the American embassy not to give me a visa. So the issue is, what do you want from Kofi Amoabeng? And I don't even know what I've done to anybody. I've only loved people. I've never hated
Could
anybody.
it be the facility you wanted to give Ibrahim for the Jata cement? Because you made reference to that. There was no bank willing to help him, no foreign bank. And at the time, he came to you with a story about this. We didn't have a proper Ghanaian cement company, so you like that.
Yeah,
so but you couldn't observe the single obligor if you give him all the money. So you started it, and he managed to do it eventually.
Yes,
could that be part of it?
Listen, if you came with a project like this, which has got a national flavor to it, I would help. You know, and part of the product our lending was not to lend to big companies, but you could lend, if it was a big project, you could lend to a point where the project now material and the banks, big banks, will come and pick it up. We did that all the time. So with Jata, the same thing. And don't forget, engineers and planners have been our client since we're in Kantamanto. So there are no clients that we didn't know.
So they're not new?
No. So I went to have a look at the land and everything. And I remember when I went, next door was Dangote Cement. And it hit me, and I came home and I said, why do we give everything to foreigners? And so my patriotic part got hold of me too. And of course I knew engineers and planners. And I said, listen, let's break it down. We can start up to this point.
And then others can come on board.
At that point, we can get investors because then they will see the project. That's how we got involved in it. So if by helping someone, and I don't care about political colors. I've never cared about political colors when it comes to lending.
Wow.
So, and they've done a good job. And the Cement project, at the time the bank was collapsed, wasn't a failure. Just that liquidity wasn't flowing. But if you value Jata Cement against the loan, it was...
They could easily have paid.
Yes.
Because you wrote that in the book, you're even planning to collect some of the money direct from when the cement was sold.
Yeah, when the cement was...
Because cement is something people buy every time.
And we guess we could collect about at least 1 million a day sales, which was going to ease our liquidity problems. But of course, it delayed.
Which is why, wow, incredible stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and trust me, there's a lot more in this book than we can talk about. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions around this, and then we'll come to 2 happy points, because I don't want it to be a doom and gloom story. Did you reach the president at the time to help you? Did you try to talk to him about what happened?
As soon as President Akufo-Addo came to power, I went to see him with the whole UT top people. The new CEO, I think he was CEO at the time, my head of finance, my partner. I went to President Akufo-Addo. And I told him, and I said, I have 2 issues. One, UT is not doing well, and to take a bit of restructuring and things. And I said, oh, no problem. As for UT, we've all been at UT's mercy, something like that, he said. And I jokingly said, Mr. President, I have not told anybody about that one. And we laughed about it. And he said, see the economic team?
Economic management team.
Economic management team. And he said the second one. The second one is that when the governor or Bank of Ghana is increasing minimum capital, he's cutting off Ghanaian...
So they should be considerate in doing that?
So they should be considerate. At least have a different path for the Ghanaian banks. And he used the word and said, yeah, he understands that what I'm saying. I said, listen, you cannot just increase capital, because the big banks will always find the money to bring to support the local bank here. But the indigenous banks, where are they going to find the money? And
so he agreed with you?
Yes, he agreed with me. And I knew him. He had been to my house in Ukrantumi before and all that. So these are not people I didn't know.
Ukrantumi is Ebuakwa North.
It's Ebuakwa North.
So and then a president is from Ebuakwa South.
Ebuakwa. He used to be... He used to be the MP for Ebuakwa until they split it to North and South.
Oh, so he was even at the time?
Yeah.
There's a book called Ukrantumi, The Road to Accra.
Yeah. It was written by a cousin of mine.
I loved it. Yeah. One of the first books I ever read.
Oh, yeah?
Ukrantumi, The Road to Accra.
Yeah, so yeah, I knew the president. Of course, the Minister of Finance also knew about the problems that I talked to him. That's why I talked to him like a brother and things like that, because he'd been there before. At some point, we had all sort of cases, then I had to give them a loan.
So you had dealt with them?
Of course.
And Data Bank was the company that did your IPO for the...
And now I stood against what my board member was saying. I said, listen, if I don't give you Data Bank, it won't sit well with our relationship and everything.
So what if somebody said, on the basis of this, then maybe it wasn't personal, maybe it was because of what they saw in the books that made them
that's what I assumed. That's why I went to him again to say that, okay, fine, maybe it's a genuine decision that you've taken. But what about the other companies that you're freezing accounts and things like that? And he said I should speak to his PA. So weaken everything that we built. You understand? I mean, if you are my friend and I have to take a decision that goes against you, I will call you and say,
explain to you that.
I say, Bernard, please, but you see me. Let's see what we can do for you to come back or something like that. But not just willy-nilly nail your other companies and everything and then refuse to see me. So at some point I just said, well, it is that bad and I have to take care of myself.
Wow. So you heard first about and in fact you started the book and end the book with the end that you were home in Kukrantumi and heard from phone calls that they are closed down the bank.
Now, when I woke up, the phone I was using, when you have a missed call, it was in red. So at 8 o'clock, I now flipped the phone open, and everything was red. And I'm saying, the world is coming to an end or what?
How many missed calls?
I think about 63.
Wow.
And I made sure.
I'm sure you panicked.
I didn't, but I was thinking maybe a
Something
son
more.
or
Yeah,
daughter.
because to get the number, it's not even work related.
The bank wasn't at the fault. I wasn't the CEO of the bank. So I called my daughter and I said, why is the whole world looking for me? And he said, you haven't listened to the news? I said, no. He said, well, it's on every news station that UT Bank had been taken over. I said, okay.
And I think that was the first one, right?
No, the first. UT and Capital.
UT and Capital were the first.
Yeah.
I think it was 14th August 2017. Before the other 5.
Precisely. Yeah.
Oh, that was why it was big. So that was the first one.
Yeah.
And they had been received by GCB.
They've been assumed.
So then they changed I remember they removed the
signage
and then they put GCB there for the next morning.
Yeah.
I think the same day.
Same day.
So you didn't know anything about it? You were in Kukrantumi?
Chilling.
Wow. The rest, as I say, is history.
Yeah.
Gosh. So do you want your bank back?
Well, let me say this. There are other stakeholders, and interestingly enough, the NDC government put in their manifesto that they will look at the banks that were collapsed, obviously to see which ones, maybe the process and everything that are not criminal and all those things. So to your question, I think first things first. It will be very illegal for the government to say that UT Bank, when I'm in court, come and take your bank.
So the matter has to come to a conclusion?
I think it has to go through due process. I mean, the country matters more than Kofi Amoabeng.
Where is the case? Is it close to ending?
We are supposed to make a submission of no case next month or something like that.
Okay.
So then the judge will decide or whatever.
So it's run too far for the charges to even be withdrawn. You are pretty confident that if you submit your no case, you have success in court.
Yes,
to be vindicated by the court.
I think maybe the judge was probably under pressure when the MPP was in power to make a decision. Now it's free. There are no pressures on the judge, and the judge is a very, very good judge. He's taking his time to listen to the case, and I'm confident.
You are fairly confident that you can go through that route.
Yeah.
And get vindicated.
So that
will be the first step.
First step. Then of course the government then can say that, listen, come and sit down, let's talk how and I don't have any idea how we're going to do it, because all the assets are being assumed by GCB. So there's no way.
So they didn't give anything to the owners of you own 41% of the bank at the time. So you don't own anything in GCB?
No.
So once the bank is gone, it's gone?
It's gone.
So your buildings, your everything?
Everything. In fact, the juicy part of it is that GCB is supposed to take the assets they want.
Oh gosh.
And what they don't want, they give to a receiver to sell off.
Oh gosh. So basically everything is gone?
It's gone.
Wow.
Why? You thought something? The bank is gone. It's gone. That's what happened.
Would it, in retrospect, the case is not over though, but could they have done something else in terms of saying that maybe the bank cannot be solvent, but let somebody else manage it with an administration or something?
It's there
that could have been a route they chose.
It's there in Bank of Ghana's alternatives when banks are in trouble, especially where you've given liquidity support. Once you put your money in something, you should be there to make sure the right decisions are taken.
So you can put people on to run it,
yes,
and then when it gets back to good health,
and then to make sure that all decisions, development of money and actions taking are as per what you think is right. But they didn't do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. 2 positive notes. You were so proud of the work you did with the Pink Pledge.
Yeah.
And you said it's
because
one of the
concerns breast.
Is this one of the most impactful things done in CSR, even till date? Because you raised so much money, you paid for treatment for so many people, and there are people who actually had their cancer cured because of this. That's fascinating.
But it was all due to my team, not me directly. Of course, we made available the funds, but we had team members who were dedicated. There's one lady, Zara, who headed it. She did a fantastic job of it. We had the mammograph, a vehicle with mammograph or something in it.
The van.
The van, going around, testing people and all that. Fantastic stuff.
They still do it, even though it's not a UT. They call it Pink October.
Okay.
But you did it first,
I think other people are doing it.
So this is the van, right?
Yeah, there's the van.
So it was doing scans for people.
Yeah. And it had, you could be attended to in the van, you know, you go in there.
Wow.
And,
so CSR can be used for a lot of good. When companies make profit, you can direct it into things like this.
Yeah, and the good thing about CSR is that it's not just money you're throwing away, it's investment. People see that you're doing this, they want to do business with you. You know, so if you ask me, I'll say that corporate social investment.
CSV, CSI.
Yeah.
And then you became Johnny Walker. That was amazing, right? This one.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. That's maybe part of the reason why I'm not liked very much, because then I had my billboards all over the place. Kumasi,
huge one at...
huge ones everywhere.
I think it was Dankwa. Massive one.
That was a very massive one. It humbled me, really. It made me feel like I was superior. It humbled me because I prayed and I asked God, why me? Why are you making all this, giving all this exposure? And it gave me fans, but it also gives you enemies. You know, Africans, we are evil in that sense. No, they just see that as for you, all the problem we have, and you are enjoying yourself and you are being... Yeah. They will do you in. So I'm sure Johnny Walker was also part of it. Now you have your billboard, not that I even paid for them. Everything paid for, TV and all those things. When we come to power, they did. They did a good job of me. I had to resign from the boards on which I was.
Wow.
And no company will want to deal with me, either because I'm in court or they are afraid that if they get close to me, then the government doesn't like me, therefore will not like me, all sort of things. So I actually retired and put all my energies into what I'm very passionate about.
Which is the next generation.
Which is the next generation.
But what is interesting is that you are living by the line. You are walking, because some people have gone to sleep. You are wearing white shoes and you are walking. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Where can we get this book to buy?
Well, almost all the bookshop, EPP bookshop, Kingdom bookshop, Airport Shell, Total, Usu, BookNook.store.
BookNook also has online. BookNook.store.
BookNook.store there. Yeah. They will deliver to you anywhere you want.
It's a fascinating read, viewers, and I urge you to get it. It's better to get all the three. I mean, I had to read it in one sitting. Incredibly great.
Great.
Thank you for being a great example. Hope you success in the court case. We'll see you soon.
I'll need it.
Yeah, we pray everything goes well. Thank you for so much.
Thank you so much.
Kofi Amoabeng, great guy. Talking to him. Get the book from BookNook.store. Go to Legon Bookshop, any of the bookshops, and read it. We'll be with you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. My fellow countrymen and women, so I have called you here today to brief you on recent developments arising out of our investigations as a department. The